Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to our first official episode on Minnesota Medley's Hotdish. We warned you in our meet and greet that we were going to come pretty hot right out of the gates. For one thing, thank you to those of you who have visited our Facebook page, who have downloaded the meet and greet episode. Appreciate that greatly. We do want this to be interactive. We're trying to get the word out there about what future episodes will consist of, and love to hear back from you on these.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. It is. You know, we could tell everybody right now that, for one thing, our email, minnesotamedleys@gmail.com, is a great way to get word to us. Also, shoot us a note on Messenger on Facebook. We're just under Minnesota Medleys. And we can also see any comments, too, which anything that works so we can hear from you would be great. Mm-hmm. Let's tell you right now, we are actually aiming to get 2 episodes out within 1 week. We're generally going to look at 1 per week or so, but we're thinking 2 episodes this week. This one, and then in a few more days, we want to get one out. It's going to be about lakes. Yeah, lakes in Minnesota. So we'd love to hear from people about, what's your favorite lake in Minnesota? Do you have a little up at the lake story? What's your best fishing lake? What's the best lake for watching a sunrise or a sunset on? Which one do you like?
Swimming.
Yeah, I gotta have a swimming lake. Do you like a sandy beach, or do you like to boat out into the middle of it on your pontoon and just jump off?
Or if you're my grandma, you call it a plantoon.
Oh, the pontoon.
Yep. Yep.
But that is for a future date, a very near future date. Lakes, we'd love to hear from you. minnesotamedleys@gmail.com, or find us on Facebook at Minnesota Medleys, and either in the comments or shoot us a note on Messenger. Mm-hmm. So we should get on to the business of Hotdish.
You know, it's a business worth getting onto, because honestly, I mean, you could say Hotdish, people have stories. Mm-hmm. People have memories. Mm-hmm. When I was talking with my friends at work about Hotdish, I brought up one type, and we discussed the fact that there are variations of that one type of hot dish.
What was it?
It was tater tot hot dish.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
There seems to be kind of, I don't want to say like head-to-head competitions or...
Well, there are.
Well, there are, actually. Yeah, but I don't want to say that people are getting in arguments about the types of tater tot hot dish that there are, or which one's better.
I haven't witnessed any of those.
I haven't. I would have put it past some people, but it's to cheese or not to cheese, basically.
Well, there is that.
There is that. And that was the striking difference, I guess, when talking about tater tot hot dish that some people noted.
Going back pre
tater tot,
which is a
PTT.
Yeah, PTT. As some of our listeners may know, the first time the word hot dish was actually used in a cookbook, as far as we can tell, and we've checked a few sources on this. Everybody believes that it was from a Mrs. C.W. Anderson, her recipe for a hot dish in the Grace Lutheran Ladies' Aid Cookbook. It was at Grace Lutheran in Mankato.
Mm-hmm. When was that?
That was in 1930.
So this has been... Hot dish
the cookbook I think was published in 1930, but I feel like it might have even been 1926 or something like that.
It could go back a long way.
Yeah, and so that's the first time it was used, and of course with hot dish, you've got to have your starch, got to have your protein, you got to have your vegetable. I was reading a recipe from a long time ago. They talked about using cremettes, and I've always known cremette to be a pasta making company.
Sure.
Dried pasta.
Is that Minnesota based?
Probably.
I feel like it.
Yeah.
I feel like it
And
is.
but it was just the way that people referred to elbow macaroni. It was,
Oh.
you use cremettes. It was kind of interesting. The let's see here. Oh, hey, let's talk about
Hey.
goulash. Now,
Oh yeah.
your grandma would talked about
Yes.
goulash, or it was also called farm hot dish. That definitely goes back a ways.
Well, it does. I mean, my grandma is 95. She was born in 1928. So she grew up knowing that goulash and farm hot dish, they were apparently the same thing to her family.
Did she say how they made that? Was
That
there
would have been with
tomato
like a
soup?
tomatoey sauce. No, not a soup, because that would be too runny. This was like thicker, like maybe a tomato paste, or that type of a sauce. And then you would have like the egg noodle, and probably ground beef that had been browned.
Yeah.
And then you would bake that in your casserole dish, but it would be a hot dish.
Sure.
And I knew goulash as the same type of thing, referenced as goulash. A custodian that I worked with in Owatonna, as he knew he was going to be passing away soon. He said for his funeral food, he did not want the sandwiches, the ham,
Buttered.
the buttered buns and
with
the
ham.
ham. Yeah,
those.
he said, not for me. That's not my style. I want goulash, and that's what our kitchen coordinator served up was the goulash. And boy, it was a memorable meal
For him, apparently.
for his final meal with all of us. Although he wasn't there, of course, but you know. Yeah. So when you've made tater tot hot dish, have you used like a California medley of vegetables, or have you used one vegetable?
I don't recall when I made it. I
Yeah.
know I've made it. I probably did a
medley? Yeah.
Medley frozen. It's easy.
Sure.
And that's the other thing too, is there are some people I think that, especially if you, I don't know if this was more about quote back in the day kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But using fresher vegetables.
Yeah.
Because I mean it's cheaper to go to your garden.
Oh, sure.
And that was the history of hot dish, is using what's available and cheap.
Absolutely. You know, there's actually, can I interject?
Yeah.
I got to talk to you about this whole, yeah, I think sometimes too they would use canned vegetables because if people weren't on the farm,
Sure.
but it was during the Depression and you used what you had. And really, I think they tried to
wouldn't
make...
have had freezer ones necessarily.
No, they would have had canned. And they probably were trying to make their meals stretch. And a hot dish is a good way to do that because it's everything you need in one dish. And there's a gentleman by the name of Howard Moore who wrote the book How to Talk Minnesotan. And I love what he says. It, meaning hot dish, can grace any table. A traditional main course. Hot dish is cooked and served hot in a single baking dish. Commonly appears at family reunions and church suppers. Hot dish is constructed on a base of canned cream of mushroom soup and canned vegetables. The other ingredients are as varied as the Minnesota landscape. If you sit down to something that doesn't look like anything you've ever seen before, it's probably hot dish. I thought that was a classic quote.
Well said. I see. Then there's author Pat Dennis.
Yeah.
Wrote a collection of short stories. And it was called Hot Dish to Die For, in which hot dish is the weapon of choice.
Oh.
That's kind of funny.
Yes, it is.
Dennis describes the dish as, quote, a can of vegetables, can of cream of mushroom soup, white rice, and I got it on sale, meat.
Oh, yeah.
She says people love hot dish because it's not a food, but a memory.
Oh, my gosh.
And that's a really, really nice
Such
way
a
to
memory.
talk about it.
Yeah, totally. Can I interject my memories here? Tuna noodle hot dish was big at our house when I was growing up. When I was, one of the things that I remember is that my mom would put saltines on top, and I liked the saltiness and the crackery topping to that. Like maybe because cream of mushroom soup, and it was like I was dipping my saltines in
Oh,
soup.
sure.
But it just felt like it went well together. Then I remember in junior high home ec, I learned how to make it with potato chips.
How
And I
was
thought that
that?
was, to me, it was strange.
Were they Doritos? No, I'm kidding.
No,
They're
they were
probably
actually potato
like,
chips.
uh-huh.
I think it was too salty and too greasy.
Oh,
You know how
okay.
sometimes
And some people probably love that.
they may, but I like the dryness of the saltines and the
Oh,
crackery. Yeah, I kind of
okay.
liked that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, with I talked about tater tot hot dish at the beginning here. I think about how I had never heard of it. In fact, my first introduction to it was not until my early 20s when I had my first job out of college.
Really?
Yeah, I was working as a junior high youth director at a large church in Owatonna, Minnesota, Lutheran church, and we do Lenten suppers during the 40 days of Lent. You would on Wednesday nights have church services instead of confirmation, and we had all of the confirmation kids and all of the high school kids and all the younger kids. They would kind of fundraise at these suppers. So if people came to church, they would go to supper at the church. And that tuna, or I'm sorry, not tuna, tater tot hot dish was like the barn burner of a meal. Everybody came for that one. And I was hooked, like hugely hooked. My
Yeah.
first taste of
Yeah.
tater tot hot
Yeah.
dish. Because there's something about tater tots that are just so great.
The crispiness. Well, there's
Yeah.
something about tater tot hot dish that is just like hitting all the right buttons
Oh, yeah.
right away. You're like, meat, potatoes. Just
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and then I don't know. I feel like I've always had either corn or peas in it. I don't know which.
Not green beans.
I don't think so,
Okay.
but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I suppose I could have.
Yeah.
I very well could have. Do you have any memories? Because now I'm stuck on that quote by Pat Dennis. Not a food, but a memory.
Well, I absolutely do. My mom used to and still does make her pizza hot dish. We can have, my siblings, they're scattered around the country, a couple of them anyway. But if there's ever a family function where people are coming together, invariably somebody asks, "Oh, is mom making pizza hot dish?"
Yeah.
Or "Will you make pizza hot dish?" And it's just one of those things that, yeah, it tastes great, but I think for a lot of people, hot dish is memories, and
Yeah.
it's a lot more than just food.
Totally. Well, and it's
Her
comfort.
It is. My mom's pizza hot dish, which I don't know how accurate this is, but there's egg noodles, there's just plain pizza sauce out of a can, I believe. Ground beef, there's melted mozzarella on top. It's very
Yeah.
simple. It doesn't taste like, the pizza sauce usually get there's no kick to it, which is fine.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have that. A hot dish was born of Minnesotan palates, and
Also known as bland.
well, no,
No?
uh, uh, not bland, but bland. Anyway, no. It just you got to be careful.
Not
with,
a lot of
some
kick.
of these Norwegians
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Swedes. Not a lot of kick, and that's a little bit of a point about hot dishes. If you ever see a recipe, or if I ever see a recipe for a hot dish that has 20, 25 ingredients or something like that,
What? Yeah.
I wonder what point are they trying
Yeah.
to make here? What are they trying to prove? Because
Who does that?
Because that just that's not in the spirit, I believe, of
Right.
hot dish. Also, pricey
Yeah.
things that you don't need Wagyu beef, you don't need truffles, you don't, it's, again, what's around, what, something inexpensive, that kind of thing.
Unless you're making a not a hot dish, hot dish.
Not a hot dish, hot dish.
Yeah.
The, but yeah, back to my mom's pizza hot dish is just, I have memories of, in the winter it gets dark so early and that kind of thing. And maybe you're out as a kid out sledding or ice skating or just being outside, helping dad plow snow on the John Deere, and coming in and smelling pizza hot dish, and it's just that's an instant warmth, and not a warmth necessarily that's just coming due to the fact that you came indoors, but it's a warmth brought on by happiness and familiarity, and right behind it is a very rapidly intensifying hunger. And it just that's just, I have another memory of hot dishes, if I may.
Sure, sure.
I might have been around 5 years old. I remember I was at a church function, and I think that's where a lot of people in Minnesota get exposure to hot dishes is through church functions and that kind of thing.
Potluck.
And by the way, Minnesota Medleys is not affiliated with any religion or political movement or anything like that. You will hear us mention church and that kind of thing because it's in our past, but you also hear a lot of stuff about music and travels and that kind of thing too. But these are just from personal experiences. We don't want any non-church going people to think that you can't participate.
Right.
These are just stories from our past. And I remember being at a church function and looking up at there was a potluck going on, and the table full of different hot dishes. And what stuck out in my mind at first was some of these were rectangular dishes. Some of them were square dishes. I just thought, but hot dish comes in an orange, high-sided round dish. That's because that's how Mom makes her pizza hot dish. But I remember, getting a plate that's loaded up with every single thing where stuff is overlapping, and just everything was so good, and how eye-opening that was, that hot dish wasn't only something that existed in our household. And that just brings me to kind of the magic of hot dish, because most people that have a favorite hot dish, they probably associate that with a person,
Right.
or a memory of a person. They might it might be a sad memory because that person's no longer with us, but regardless, a hot dish does pull you back. You may associate it with an event, a recurring event, holidays. I associate it with family, oddly with weather. There's just something about comfort foods when it's cold. Everybody feels that way. And then of course just history.
Right.
You think of these yellowed index cards sitting in recipe boxes that go through generations, and what else really does that in Minnesota for something that brings people together?
Yep.
It's
Absolutely.
really a neat thing, I think.
It is.
We had put together a list of hot dishes. Maybe our listeners can.
Yeah. Chicken wild rice hot dish.
There's chicken broccoli hot dish.
Yeah.
Isn't that the one that never
so
smells so
good.
great when it's baking?
Yeah,
though?
yeah. And
But
kind of makes me a little gassy because of the broccoli, but I do love it.
thanks for that.
You bet.
And of course, pizza hot dish. I saw
Yeah.
somebody one time make a pizza hot dish with elbow macaroni instead of the egg noodles.
Were you appalled?
I almost fainted.
Oh,
Yeah.
Did they put pepperoni in it?
Clutched my pearls. I have seen them
Really?
with pepperoni
Yeah,
in them. I
yeah.
have. Yep.
Well, that's a
And
pizza topping, I suppose.
It is.
You know.
Lasagna hot dish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do they use lasagna noodles?
I've never made that one.
I haven't either, I guess. You know, is it just lasagna? I mean,
But
let's be real here.
Is that Italian hot dish?
Do they just call it hot dish because
Right.
it's a dish that's served hot?
Right.
I don't know.
Tuna hot dish.
Yeah. Yeah.
This one I love,
this.
cheeseburger hot dish. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And
So
you know
good.
what I love about I thought I put this on the list, but maybe I didn't. My cheeseburger and fries hot dish.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because you
Tell us
use
real
like
quick how you
a,
do
oh my
that.
gosh, so good. I use like a cheddar, like the cheddar cheese soup,
Oh.
like cheese soup.
Oh, mixed with browned beef.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And then, so that's where some of the cheese comes from,
Uh-huh.
but you do a sprinkling of cheese on top
Okay.
of the steak cut frozen fries.
Oh, sure.
So good.
That does sound really
Oh my
good.
gosh, really, really good.
Huh.
Highly recommend.
Okay.
But yeah.
The church supper hot dish. The one with the chow mein noodles on
Yes.
top. Little going for a new level of texture here.
You got it.
That's
yeah.
that's daring.
Absolutely. Well, and then a whole other thing. You know, you think of hot dish only being for supper.
Mm-hmm.
But put a little spin on it, use eggs instead of your soup, and you have a breakfast hot dish. You could put hash browns in there, or you could use tater tots. But maybe some like diced ham, some...
Well, I'm getting hungry.
Right? I know. Dangerous to listen to this when the meal is a long way off, because you're going to get the nibbles. That's for
Here's
sure.
how Minnesotan hot dish is. They have, I don't know if it's annual or if it's semi-annual, but there's a Minnesota congressional hot dish competition. You got
Yes.
senators competing in
Across
hot
the
dish.
aisle.
Across the aisle.
Yes.
Indeed, isn't that great?
It's a friendly competition from what I've
it's-
heard.
Yeah, it would have to be. It's hot dish.
Absolutely.
But thank you everyone for listening to our stories about hot dish. I hope that it brings up memories for you as
Yeah.
well. That's kind of what we want to do on this podcast, is the interaction with people, where we're celebrating Minnesota. So almost everything we're going to be talking about as the weeks come on are things to which you can relate, things that you have memories of, places you've been,
Right.
lakes in which you've swam, and we just want it to feel good, to be
Nostalgia.
fun, a little nostalgia, and of course we might even accidentally provide some useful information along the way.
Oh,
What?
there's
What?
useful information.
Oh.
Yeah, that might come up in a future episode.
Yeah. We're gonna do an episode about Minnesota goodbyes. Will that one
Yes.
ever end? That one
No, it
that
will
might have to be
not.
our two or three parter.
Absolutely. I mean,
Oh, I've already got the best story about one of the best Minnesota goodbyes I've ever seen. It was courtesy of your grandmother. And oh my gosh, it just froze me in my tracks.
yeah,
As a
we're
good
known for
Minnesota
our
kid.
Minnesota goodbyes.
Yeah, I couldn't even continue walking towards the door. I was like, well, I gotta stop for this. So, but that's for a future episode.
Yeah.
In the meantime, please do visit our website, minnesotamedleys.podbean.com. That's minnesotamedleys.podbean.com. There you can download an episode. We also are available on
Like
Apple,
everything?
on everything. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Google Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on, oh my gosh, there's so many right now. But if you
I
have
don't
a
even
favorite,
know what half the icons are
if
for
you
on
have,
our
I
websites.
know, if you have a favorite way of listening to your podcasts, go to our website, and at the bottom of the welcome page,
Yeah.
it shows every single
You
app on which we are.
you could probably even just search for us within the app. We may come up that way
And yeah, that's true.
where they're listening.
Yeah, because we're probably there.
Yeah.
And please do message us about lakes, your favorite lake. Maybe a lake story. We'd love to share some of those on our next podcast, which will be within the next few days. That's minnesotamedleys@gmail.com. Look us up on Facebook at Minnesota Medleys. You can contact us on Messenger through Facebook, or just put the name of a lake in the comments. Maybe even why you like that lake. We'd love to hear from you. We'll be looking forward to chatting with you again.
Indeed.
Have a great day, night, and everything in between, folks. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Toodles. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.